So it goes into this section like this. I might read a little bit across the top. I think I'll try that for a change of pace. Read across. I'm going to read the top part and then come back and read the light print. So Tom, you read this Rachel Olam Briah B'Layla, why she goes down into Olam Briah at nighttime. Varn is boyer la'ir shachakesa the Rachel Malbish Ragle Leah. So we said that Leah's feet are inside of Rachel. We talked about that. So in other words, below the historic Rachel Redis the Matachim in the Chatzila, so she wouldn't be pushed down, because actually the length of Leah is longer than we normally think. Amnami after the Yoskach, but you can't have that situation. Leah v'Rachel omdos ba'achre zer anpin. Only you can have this situation when the back of zer anpin bebechined shnei partsufim zu lamata mizu, when there are two separate partsufim, one on top of the next. The Oz, then what happens then? Tidchok Yona as Raglecha, so she will push her feet as Raglecha v'tachnisa b'tehom hatachtona, and push them into the boundaries of the lower parts of v'yashvu sham dechodolchos, and under pressure, or this squeezed together like that. That's what they're going to live together like that. Amnam Ata, he says, Shemischavros v'na'asis parts of Echad, but when they come together, it's a very interesting slant he has to this here. Ata Shemechavros v'na'asis parts of Echad, and they become just one parts of. He after Shalmakom Shuhu Keneged Shlish Em Soy. So let's talk about the place where their meeting place is in the Shlish Em Soy, Tiferes the Zer Anpin. She hears Sham Oros Kefulim Ela Besoch Ela, that just had so many double, you just have double the amount of Oros there. The Fishi Afsha Lechalek Echad Machaguf his Pashet, so it's impossible for one part of the boot, his Pashet, his Lavish, to Chelik Acher Shabo, with inside of another portion that's in it. Masha Ain came behi Yosem Gufim Buchulakim. In other words, I'm not sure exactly what that meant. We'll pick it up in the TIV. Masha Ain behi Yosem Gufim Buchulakim Ganoidin, which is not the case when they're separate bodies. V'nimsa shemuchrachus she'ata terid rachel. So if they're together, they're separate. If they're together, then you have all this bundle of energy in that place in the middle part of Tiferes. But if they're not put together, then you have a longer Rachel. V'nimsa shemuchrachus she'ata terid rachel v'spashet ba'olam abriya. So now she's going to have to go down because they're too long to be able to stay in Tzilus. Rachel being on the bottom, she goes down there. So let's see what the TIV Hakavanot could say on number Samach Bet. Here it is, down here. And number Samach Bet, light print, he says, in his boyer la'el de beseder harogel shabo omdos leah v'rachel achre zer anpin zu l'mala mezu. This is the way we usually talk about them. Mispashtos ragle leah, at that point, ragle besoch kisra the Rachel goes into the head of Rachel. B'kadei shelo titztarek Rachel l'redis l'olam abriya. So this is actually, so he says this is the way that is rogel. This is the way that it normally is. Let's go on to the next page. And he writes, Achein seder b'zech shayik rak be'esa sher Rachel v'leah hem shnei partzufim nifradim. This works with their two separate partzufim. J'oz shayik lomet shepartzuf echad malvis shesheni. So then we can understand them living together like this. They're two separate partzufim, but we can understand that one closes itself into the other. That's what happens here. Zechavakesa the Rachel malvish as ragle leah. V'shnechem nimsaim dechuko, so they're squeezed together. B'makom echad keneged shlish em soy to Tiferes the Zer Anpin. Going on down below, he says v'amnam be'esa dormita. The Kudnisis of Malch in the Nook, so now you have a whole lot of energy coming into the Nook. Sha'az na'asem Rachel v'Leah, because we said what happens is at that time is they become one parts of Kniska La'el. Ein Shaykh Lomer Sheyesh B'makom Azecha K'neged HaChazed Ezeh Oros Kefulin de Rachel v'Leah. We can't say in that one place, in the center of the Chazed, that you're going to be able to find these double letters. We can't say that, Shechet, because now, he says, Sha'ata Sharachol v'Leah this Chabrach v'Naas parts of Echad. Now that they're joined together, they made themselves into one parts of. Lo Shaykh Shechelik Echad Mechaguf Yalbish as Chelko Ha'acher. So they have to, what? It's not Shaykh, and that's this circumstance for them to be inside of each other. V'alkein. So therefore, Ata Rabbesedech Avimidas Leah v'Rachol Sha'ata Nichlalu v'Naas parts of Echad. He adds again. Hu be'ofen shalea omedis al gabe Rachel. So now you see that Leah is on top of Rachel. Now, the Leah part of this one entity. So let's see. V'hine nizbar Leah is explained up above. The zesh shir kumas Rachel v'Leah shava the kumas their anpin. That stage that we say that they get to the same height as their anpin along his back. Ragle Rachel Mistaimos Besium Ragle Zer Anpen, and the rule is that the feet of Rachel will end at the same place as the feet of Zer Anpen. She's all the way down. Kol Zechahu Rak Be'esha Ragle Leah Meluvashim Tocha Kesa the Rachel. That can only be that situation. Nimsa Sha'ata B'Shaleah V'Rachel Eina Malvishim Zuwazu, but here they're not Mislavish. Rak omdu zu lamala. They only stand one on top of the other. Azai, this is his saying. This is what he's saying. Looking at at this perspective, Azai shir kumas hanuk hakolula barachal v'leah. That whole column, if you put the two of them together, who yoser aruk mekumas zer anpin. So therefore, he is not mixing them together. Instead, they're lining up together, and there as one backside of Zer Anpin. There's a top part and a bottom part. Then you see that the very bottom of Rachel is too long, because they're stacked instead of penetrating one to the other. That's the bottom part. Yered le'olam Briah omedes tachas ragli Zer Anpin should go down into Briah underneath the feet of Zer Anpin. So he said, who parts of Rachel. Now, the whole thing here is about the part that goes down is the parts of Rachel. How you read is the Olam Briah B'Laila. So we know that V'hinech call parts of Rachel Yored the Briah. Now the whole parts of goes down to Briah. And L'chelet Misfirosecho Yordin the Briah, but there's a portion of her Sfiros that go down into Briah. But then another portion of them remains up above in Etzilus. And they're given over, they're lent over to Rachel. Now, let me just go back. He says, he says, parts of Rachel, so he's saying a portion of this. He means the spheros. Now, when he's using the word spheros here, I think he means the kalim. So we'll try to figure that out. So now there's three different things that Rav wants to bring over here. The buyer Eilach Halokim shall Rachel Yordin the Briah ve'Eilach Bechem Nishar Be'Etzilus, and then some of it's going to remain in Etzilus. There are three different versions here of how the Rav says that who goes down into Briah, what goes down into Briah. Now, before we go on, there's the number Mem Daled down here in the Shefa on the right-hand corner, and it says Ba'olam HaBriah. So he says like this: Rabbeinu Kitzar Khan. He's saying this in short form over here. The Bekomas Acherim, especially in the fifth drus of Tefillin, and then in the Eitz Chaim and Sharkov Tes. Malchus Yardos Lekli Lokal Olamos Bia. There it says it goes into all of the Olamos of Bia, below rock the Olam of Bria Bilvad, not just in Bria. So one thing that we see a lot of times that they say that the Nook goes down into Bria. It doesn't say to Bia, it says to Bria. So he said rock the Olam of Bria Bilvad. It's not that. The Hakelim of Benimim, and here's an interesting fact. He says that the Halim Benimim, he says the Kalim of Benimim, Yording the Bria, the Benimim go to the Kalim, looking at Kalim, there's going to be three aspects of the Kalim, and here the first one goes into Bria. Hakelim Emseim, Yording the Yitzir, Hakelim Mitzanim, Yording the Rasia. Okay, Shem and Sasa. So I'm still, though, a little confused. When he says that they're going down into Bria or Bia, he says, what aspect of them is going down? I mean, that you're leaving some kalim behind, or the whole kalim, that is the whole sphere of the kalim, the kali and the ore within it. What exactly, how does this work? So let's look up here at the top. Like I say, I'm going to try to learn across the top first. So it says, "Kam shemuos be'inyan eze chelik shel Rachel." So, but what part of Rachel? We saw everybody agrees. Okay, Rachel, an aspect of Rachel goes down. So Rabbi Ezer, Rabbi chelik shel Rachel, yored le'olam abriya ve'ezer nisha betzilus. So number Samach Vav. V'hine Rabbi Muchrachu shachan nekuda chasiris atachtonis. So the 10th part. Who has mispashetes bebria. This is the part that actually stands into Bria. Which part again? He says shenakuda chasiris atachtoina, which would be the malchus. V'rama malchus shal rachav v'zochor seh. So he says that's the whole thing. So get a little blessing. You should remember this. Okay, it's the malchus that goes down. Then he says amnam da. He says, but look like this. I found in different contrasting the opposite thought. That I also heard from Morizal this. The Rachel is really only a dot. She's only one sphera. So that sphera which we're arguing about, which one is that one anyway, he says, "Atachateshatesha nekudas abos l'rachel derek tosafos elunik niskashro v'nischadro v'imleya." That's the part, the extra part that was added onto her, is now going to join into Leah. Nischadro v'imleya. V'naaset parts of echad, and it becomes one parts it by itself. V'nishara lamala b'chatzilus, and it remains up above in its silus. Which is what sphere is that one? Okay, so that's what another one. Then another one. Let me get this a little focused here. He says, so another time I heard like this. Kiatation the kudas of Boim law, those nine kudas that are coming to her direct Osafos. Hema Yordus Lamata Bebria, that's the part that goes down into Bria. Avachat Nakuda Shroshes. It can't go down into Bria, Mishum open in any way whatsoever. But our Karbanov, Miros, Tefilus Yotzer, Shachris, and all of that, Oz Anu Ma'alim, called Nitzutzi Atzilus, we're now bringing up from that place all the different sparks of parts of Atzilus, Sheyarda B'Olamos Elo, that fell down into these Elos as a result of the Shnira, B'Olamos Elo, I assume, V'gam Atesha, the Kudah Shechel Nukva, the Atzilus Atzma, and also the 10 spheres of the Nukva Atzilus, which is Malchus of Atzilus herself. Kabavur, V'tzleina Ba'orach, Peseda Tefilus Shachar. That's a little more vague over there. So we'll pick up, there's plenty to say about this in the TIV. So as Amnam Amitos Inyan Zeh, the truth is that the truth of this Inyan is Boyer Ba'orach B'drashi At Tefillin. He said, B'tam Lama Tefillin Nogim B'yom below Belila, and it goes on to that idea, why do we do it in the day and not at the nighttime? B'sham nizbar heitev ad-drush hazeh, there they have a really good explanation of this drush kula mitachilasa b'adsofo, and I think you have a big chef on this, and I think that we'll get something out of that another time. Kula maskilasa b'adsofo, and then he said, but called drush al-lailu kulam b'sham ku amitas inyan zeh, and he's going to bring it to us, but this is just the skinny of what we're working on here. Okay, so now we're going to number Samach Vav in the TIV Hakavanot, and we're going to read his running commentary on this. So he says, Shmua Rishona Chelik Rachel Hayored Ke'es, the Ke'es now, the Briah, whose spheres and Malchus the Rachel. That's the part. That's the first idea. 1 second. Shehi Hanekuda Chasiris Atachtona Shalo, which is the very bottom Nekuda sphere of Rachel. B'shar HaTeisha Chasifira Shemakasav Ad Yisod Nitnan Lalea B'Chashayla. That's the part that she borrowed. She lent, or lit Nitin to Leah. She was lent to Leah. He said B'Chashayla. V'da Da'af Lefi Shemu Azu. Hanakuda Joshroshis, the Rachel, Shahoya B'cha B'me'ez Techilas Atzilusa Rihis Spheres Akasar Shalah. So nobody's arguing with that. Ella the Lefi Shemu Azu, but according to this Shemu that we're talking about now, Masha Nesher Ba Be'ez Es Ma'atusa, when she goes down into Briah, and then the Nakuda Sharashi Shalah, that stays in Atzilos. Ella Spheres Amalchus Shabbat. That's the part that goes down. Spheres Amalchus. Okay? So he says, next one says, Shmua Shnia, the second thing I heard on this subject, Shnia, Sheshema Memarchu Bezeh, Merabohi, from his rabbi, it's like this, that is the Rab. She'es Spheres Ashrashi Shalom, and then in no sense the Rachel to Leah La'olam. She never gives that to Leah. And the Rachel to Leah La'olam. Rak as Shaar HaTeisha Spheros, Shemachach B'vachad Malchus Shebohu Lo B'Tosefes, which came to her as an addition. Osam Kin attended Leah the B'Chalvoah. That's what she gives. The root of Rachel stays in its seals. And they are the rest go up into he said, if you read this, the Briah, but the Kesser, I think I read this wrong, misunderstood this. So I'm sorry, I have to read it again. Barak as Shaar HaTeisha Sphere Shemechachba V'ad Malchus Shebo Law, but Tosefes, that's what Osam he knows in the Leah B'Chavor. She gives those to Leah. Leah's got them now. V'heim the Sharon B'Chatzilus, and the 9 additional remain in Itzilus. V'eila Rachel Shenishara im Sfira Kesser Shalol Levad Yeredis the Briah. So it's just the Kesser that goes down into Briah. Let's do the next one now, and let me see what we're doing. Okay, we have time. So it's a Shmua Shlishi Shema Pam Acheres B'Rabu Behefach. It's the opposite of that. So how do you work this out? That he has the Rav himself said 3 different ways. Sheteshech and Nekudas Ambos the Rachel Besod Tosefes. The Heim Tesha Sphira Shemechach Malamada. Heim HaYordim. That's what goes down into Briah. Somehow they skip past the Kesser part. And then sometimes they go into all 3 since they have I am the chef of Hakavanot, it's a chef on this. So in Atzilus, their root remains behind, which is the Shor Shehi Nekudas Akesser Shalah, Kevin Shahan Nekuda Hashorashis, because the root he Avshallah Lered the Briah B'Shum Ofen, it could never go down into Briah. Okay, so that idea there. So now going on to the next column, and we're still working the light prints. Let's just keep talking about that one. So they went past, or in some way they were incorporated inside of the Keser of Rachel, and then they were let loose, so to speak, to go down into Briah according to this idea. So there in the morning, according to the order of the davening, Mekarbanos v'adamida, we bring them up and we place them, settle them into Atzilus. This is this fact. He says, I'm not sure that I understand this. What was he talking about before? Let me say, let's go back to where it says, Azai b'boker, ayidei seder ha-tefillah, mekarbanos v'adamida, anem ma'alim and b'shivim osam. What is this? We're bringing back these 9 pieces, these 9 spheros that went into Briah, El Atzilus, bring them back. So he said, this is the part that I was wondering about. So he says, V'zera milvad aliyas anitzutzas the kelim anishbarim the Atzilus, but at the same time you have the rapach that's coming up the Atzilus shenaflo be'esh shviris kelim lo olam bia, that at the time that the kelim were broken, they fell into olam bia, Briah. Shagam he mischavrim v'olechem seder tefi the chakras, because they also join together. They go up according to the order of the Tefillas of Chakras. Kanayda should be called Yom V'Yom. Mizbarna than Berudim V'Dashim, who just wants to go on that track. Shal the Kalim Shinish Beru B'Shviris Kalim. Ashecha Begia Eis Tikunim Ba'or Hayim Ba'osa Hayom. I like to say Ba'or Hayom, but Ba'osa Hayom, they're all coming back up. The Naskim. As stiras, so let's settle these stiras shmuas be'inyan hachalokim in regards to the chalokim, the rachel hayordin lebia b'layla, and they are as follows. He says ve'hem shlosha shmuos echad hamalchus the rachel yored is the bia v'teishach b'sivrosechel v'chadyonis nishara batzilos. The next one is keser, the rachel yored, the Briah goes down into bia. Into Bia, he says, goes down into Bia. V'teishach spheres abohim lo betosefes nisharim ba'atzilus, that remain in the tzilus. He said v'teishach spherosechel abohim lo betosefes. That's the third one. Yordin the Bria of a spheres akaser shrashers nisharim ba'atzilus. So let's see, we just have a little bit more. I'm going to do this and see how far I can get. That's not so bad off. So he says, the light print. He said, the ale, b'drush when we talked about drush he said that the tefillin, Yashiv Rav es astira bein hashmua achron the shatesh sphirosechon hanosvos. So the Safos, I guess we pronounce it, Yordos, that's what goes down. So how do you rhyme that up with the Shtei HaShmuos, the Rishonish, Shetesha Spheres, and the Safos, Nisharas, Batzilus, that's what remains in Atzilus. And then you have the choice, Basphira Achas, either the Kesser or the Malchus, that's what Yored is the Briah. That's what actually goes down into Briah. But Tochem Terutzo, so to read Terutzo Sham, who's this? Ye'un b'Shefa Gavanas. Now he has a big chef on this. Shavianda b'Cheslash and the Rav Sham. Sheshnecha Shemuos Nechonos. The two things really are both correct. But the fact is that they're different times. The Mechatzas Alayda Alos Shachar. Yored is Sphira Achas the Briah. One of the spheres goes down into Briah, V'shar Teishach Spherosecha, Mushalim, Leleah are lent over to Leah. Ukishnei Shmuas or Rishonos, and according to the first two, this Ukishnei Shavuos or Rishonos, Rishonos, that's the way we heard the first two. V'lachar Mekan Ba'alos HaShachar, but now, when you get to the morning star, starts to come up, Pesha spheres, the Rochel Shahoya Bechatzila, the Yordan, the Briah, they all go down into Briah. But the other ones, which already went down to Briah, either you were talking about the Malchus or you're talking about the Kesser, one or the other, one of the two of them are going to come back up, which is like the third Shmuah, and I think that finishes that. So we're going to come back and we'll look at tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem, we'll look at the Shmuah, the Shefa Hakavanot on this.